1994 is one of the greatest, if not the greatest year for movies, especially for Hollywood. How great movies were back then. Those were some of the best years for movies. Let's think about it. The Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, The Lion King, no, not the live action one, the animated one, the perfect one, the better version, True Lies, Dumb and Dumber, Clear and Present Danger, Ace Ventura, Speed, Chungking Express, The Flintstones, Naked Gun, and so much more great films came out that year. The top 3 films I mentioned earlier, The Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, as well as Forrest Gump, are the top 15 highest rated films on IMDb. The Shawshank Redemption, my favorite film of all time, the number 1 highest rated film on IMDb. When it came out at first, it was a flop. But eventually, it got more recognition, and mainly because it was placed on IMDb's number 1. And because of that, this film gained so much recognition and so many people went to watch it, and they realized the greatness of this film. It is one of the greatest drama I've ever witnessed. Let's look at other drama films that came out this year. The Lion King, the second highest rated animated film on IMDb. This film came out in 1994 and it's still number 2 right now. It is so famous and so great that even the live action remake, which was so horrible, but still made a ton of money at the box office because it has the name The Lion King, because it was a remake of an iconic Disney film, Pulp Fiction. Although Reservoir Dogs came before Pulp Fiction, I would honestly argue that Pulp Fiction was the film that made this man, Quentin Tarantino, rise to fame. Sure, Reservoir Dogs did push him up a bit, but that was just by a bit. I would personally say Pulp Fiction was the one that put him all the way up. Forrest Gump is an iconic film played by Tom Hanks. You can talk to any fan of cinema and ask them about Forrest Gump, there's no way they are not going to know about that film. And Forrest Gump actually won a lot of Oscars that year. Best Picture, and I have to say I disagree with these winners. Okay, I mainly disagree with Best Cinematography.
The Oscar goes to John Toll for Legends of the Fall.
I think that should have gone to Roger Deakins for Shawshank Redemption, definitely. As for Best Picture, it's 1994. It was a tough competition for films. I just mentioned some of the great films that came out that year. You can tell that it was really a tough competition. The Oscars probably had a lot of difficulties choosing a film and the numbers for each film to win Best Picture was probably very close to each other. But for Best Picture, I would personally say nominate The Lion King, because if I'm not wrong, they did not nominate The Lion King. And I would say give the winner to The Shawshank Redemption. That would be my personal preference. But nonetheless, I think Forrest Gump was a good option because even though it's not my favorite film of that year, it still is an iconic film. Then let's talk about action. Let's talk about True Lies first. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Cameron, these two combined together is action gold. Like, the action film that these two work together in will be gold for sure. Terminator, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, which is one of my favorite action films of all time, and True Lies, which is another great film by these two. Clear and Present Danger, another fantastic action film with Harrison Ford, when Harrison Ford was still young and was capable of doing a couple of stunts himself. Speed, a great Keanu Reeves action film. Keanu Reeves has brought us a lot of great action films around that time, and this is another one of his great ones. Actually, even up to now, he's bringing us a lot of great action films. Then comedy. Forrest Gump, it's drama but also comedy, one of the most iconic films. I don't have to say much about this film at all. Dumb and Dumber, as well as Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Jim Carrey's films. Jim Carrey is a very iconic comedian. Must I say anything about how great these comedy films are, especially in the 90s. In the 90s, he was rising to fame as a comedian. Flintstones, despite the ratings, I still thought this was a fun, great comedy film for families. Naked Gun, it's a fun, great action film, just not for families like Flintstones. Instead, it's made for adults mostly. And for fans who don't like these kind of genres and are more into other genres like horror and whatnot, maybe you might not think this is the greatest year for films, but still, you have to agree, this is at least one of the greatest year for films. I don't see a possibility of getting another year gifted with so many great films like these. One very interesting thing about the films that came out this year was that they are not content. They are not the kind of films you see nowadays like the MCU or the DCU. They are not there to just make money out of movies. They are there because they are films of an art form. And therefore, that's one more interesting thing about this year, because they prioritized the art form of cinema over business, which is very different from what we are doing now. That's all I have for this video. If you like this video, click the like button. If you want to see more, subscribe to my channel, and see you guys next time, because always the best.